oddly enough, shooting a bull moose with the M1 today might be one of the most normal things we do. And it's not as though we've never shot a moose with the M1, but it's certainly not the most common weapon we use for them. But for today's hunt, we might have the weirdest loadout we've ever brought to Layton Lakes. So of course we have the M1, we also have the Mosin, then the 45 air rifle, and of course the 22 for the small game. And the reason that we're carrying such weird weapons is that there's a kind of video idea that I have, which at the risk of someone doing it before me, I guess I'll explain it. Essentially, there's a case to be made for using the smallest ethical weapons on animals to sort of give you a potential follow-up shot if you were to make a bad initial shot. And I'll get into that a little bit more later and eventually when I make that video, but I really enjoy hunting with weird loadouts, and I intend to do that video on Layton Lakes anyways, so it's an opportunity to learn a bit about what I'm going to need to know. Also, evidently, opportunity to find max weight moose tracks and hopefully figure out where they are, but I think it'll be fun to just generally hunt here in multiplayer and see what we find. And like I said, we'll get to sort of do a bit of work towards that eventual video as well. And I guess to kind of explain where I'm coming from with the idea for the video I mentioned, I'll try my best to explain it with this elk. So we're using the M1 again, which is a weapon that's rated for animals classes 4 to 8, and of course the elk's class is 8. And a lot of times, with a flesh hit from the M1, that elk's not going to die, and rather than having to make a follow-up shot on an animal that's fleeing where it's going to eventually go down, you can kind of wait for it to come back, and it'll still kind of stand there and give you another broadside shot, kind of like what we had happen with the melanistic elk on Layton with the 270 probably a month ago or something like that. And my kind of point is, you could potentially always choose that weakest weapon, the weapon that's most likely to have the animal survive if you do hit poorly, and let them come back and give you that second opportunity instead of like a quick opportunity where you have to hit a moving target that's a lot tougher to hit. And I don't necessarily think this is the best way to go about things, but I wanted to make the point and just kind of see what happens when we go for a hunt like this, and if there is a better reason to use it even than I thought. In the meantime, if there's going to be a couple of decent sized rabbits, I think we can get them both. The one on the right there was a little bit better. We just barely were off on our shots there, but still got him down. And actually, I think our elk is down right behind where that second rabbit went, so that worked out. Got ourselves a gold rabbit in the process. In all likelihood, a silver with this guy. And then I'm not actually sure for our elk, but the other thing that is important here, he actually is a gold, by the way. It was a weak caliber, but we still got through a double lung, and quick kill would have been 75% there. The chat's kind of covering up that a little bit, but it still brought him down pretty quickly with a good shot. So I guess that's kind of what I want to somewhat test today, like those weapons that are going to be the weak calibers for the species that we're going after. Just how quickly a good shot takes them down. I'm not going to try to make any bad shots today, and then when we make that video, I'll kind of intentionally do bad shots and just make that comparison. While it may only be a level 4, I think this will be a pretty good test for the Mosin, which we really don't get to fire that often, but we're good and close. We know the Mosin has accuracy issues, and I think this will be about as good a test case as any. Now, I'd almost like to alert him, but we're in the tower, so we'll go for this shot and just sort of see what it does. We know the Mosin doesn't have incredible penetration, but I mean, look at that. That's probably going to be 100% quick kill. It may have been a close shot, but still, that's a pretty big animal to take down for the Mosin that quickly. It couldn't have possibly been 8 seconds. And if we can get over here, it definitely was 100%. Actually, double lung on a black bear with the Mosin is probably not going to happen that often, but it's good to know that it can. And I really would like to get to use the Mosin more. We know the accuracy issues, as I mentioned, are still in existence. They're not major. I'm just always afraid it might cost us at range, but I don't know. We might just start taking it for hunts where we intentionally only go for closer shots, just kind of to actually get to use it again. Well, I was hopeful when I saw a max weight black bear track that was the brown fur type that maybe we could get a color phase diamond, but unfortunately he is a mythical. I still think I want to try like a longer shot with the Mosin, and this is a weird angle, but I think if we kind of go towards the spine a bit, well, I'm not too sure what that was. I was going to say we should be able to get maybe into a single lung, but either we hit spinal cord, and ended up with a drop shot that way, or maybe we got into the heart. I could kind of see that being a thing, but we'll have to go up and confirm. It was vertebrae and lung, actually, and spinal cord as well, and he was a pretty big one. 0.7 shy of diamond, but I mean, I guess we barely got the lung, so maybe that wasn't the smartest angle to take, but it worked out. And we're 2 for 2 on the Mosin doing really, really well on Black Bear, and of course, they're class 7 animals, and the Mosin is one of the only 3 to 7 weapons, so that's the main reason we're carrying it, and despite accuracy issues, it's done really, really well. Man, figures that this one would be a level 9. It is a common, you can see by the tracks, and I've been following him for quite some time. That estimate of 22 to 25 is probably the highest I've ever seen on a Black Bear. We have a max score one, which of course also was a common, and I even think his estimate only went up to 24, and I'm not sure, that might have been before they changed the score estimates to be a little more varied. But we're in a pretty nice open spot right now, south of Belmont Lake, and I want to kind of push forward here in case he stops out in the open. If he doesn't, because we've been tracking him for so long, he may just turn around, but we may kind of sit here. The wind is just perfect. Maybe he'll wander back this way, and if not, we can kind of just continue kind of doing what we're doing until we get a better opportunity. Ooh. That might be an issue. There's also a chance it's going to help us, because so the zone that I originally picked up that bear's track is right down in here, and it's actually a 12 to 1600 rest zone, so he may just want to return to there anyway. Now, a lot of times changing the time, it doesn't change the state of the animal. Like, he's probably still going to be nervous, and that might still kind of impact what he decides to do, but thus far, there's been no sign of him coming back, and because we're carrying the air rifle, I'm tempted to try to get this black-tailed buck. I think we're going to do it. I mean, it's not really going to hurt anything. I didn't even realize there is a bear right there, so maybe it's a little more likely that a level 9 bear could be coming back and I wouldn't realize it, but I mean, I don't think he's come back this way. Unfortunately, I just don't see that we have much of a choice. I mean, in multiplayer, it always kind of worries me to sit around for very long, especially when the time gets changed, because you just never know how animals are going to react to that. So there was a bear warning call, but almost certainly would have been one of the couple that walked past us, so I'm hoping that we can actually find the max weight bear's tracks. The change in time can kind of mess with that as well. He would have went up through here somewhere, so that's also sort of worrying. Is that our guy down there? That is him. Okay, so I really thought we were going to have to go back, but evidently he actually is still in the area. Now, the question is, what is he going to try to do from here? Is he trying to get back to that zone that I mentioned? Is he still nervous? I mean, certainly now he's going to be, because we spooked him. He's actually kind of walking over there, and just because of this weird situation, I can see he's trying to stand up. We might try to scoot in and just take a longer shot, especially with the Mosin. I don't love that, but maybe it's going to be our best option, so we'll still kind of go slow. Like, if he is trying to get back, we'll keep alternating between running and walking, but hopefully he's going to offer a shot over in there. Man, I really feel as though we lucked out in even getting to see him again. So what I want to do is actually alert him, just really kind of gently here, because I don't want to just send him running, but I want him to stand up, because I think that might be kind of the safest shot that we can take, especially with the Mosin. So I'm hoping that went in through a lung, and it looks like it did. I can't imagine how else he would be already dropping, so I think, despite the time change and difficulty in locating him again, we might have just shot a diamond black bear with a Mosin, which might be a first for us. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I say that, but the estimate does not guarantee him making diamond. It's just the best estimate I've ever seen, so fingers crossed for this guy. Oh my. After all that, we missed diamond by 0.1. I totally deserve that for calling him a diamond bear with a Mosin before we saw the result. I'm pretty pleased with the shot. I really felt like getting him to stand on his hind legs offered like the safest shot into the lungs. And I mean, we did fine. 263 is a pretty low weight for a level 9 black bear, and the only thing I'll say is we had that mythical brown fur type earlier, and had that been the level 9 and then a troll, that would have been really unfortunate because I'm pretty sure the only other level 9 troll that we've had since the new system was also a brown fur type, so at least in that case we didn't get trolled by like a potential color phase diamond black bear and it was just a common, but I mean, diamond bears are always still cool, so I would have loved if that guy made it, even at the minimum score. Minus the black bear, which of course was ultimately a bit of a disappointment, that is easily the best thing we've seen thus far today, a level 4 Roosevelt elk, up to 387 on the score estimate, so because he's kind of feeding, and he lifted his head there a second ago, but it's not super often they do actually pick their heads up. Actually, maybe we can get that shot in now. I was going to say that maybe we gotta wait and go for a next shot, but now I'm not so sure that we didn't just miss the lungs. We'll get another look here. He's not going down, and you know what? Rather than panic and take a kind of trotting shot, this sort of plays into what I had talked about earlier as the reason to use the smaller calibers. So it depends on if he's going to try to come back to his zone or what he's going to do, but we should be able to get like a kind of nice standing still shot again for a follow-up, and hopefully this time make a better shot. And as I always say, if one animal in the group comes back, they all will, so somewhere back there is going to be our level 4 elk that we hit, and he's on his way back, and he actually barely has lost any health. But this kind of was my point, and maybe I'll even use this clip in that video once I make it. There is a real argument to be made for using those smaller calibers, because now our follow-up is him standing still broadside, and we can easily get into the lungs, whereas had we used the 300 and made that same shot that didn't get into the lungs, it may have actually brought him down. I'm not 100% certain if like a flesh hit from a 300 on an elk specifically would do it, but let's say the M1 on a white-tailed deer. A flesh hit will kill a whitetail eventually with the M1, so you gotta get that quick follow-up or it might just be gone forever, whereas maybe with the air rifle or a weaker caliber, it's gonna come back in a situation like that. And clearly, I just misjudged the angle on what was a 370 scoring elk, by the way, so about 10 shy of diamond, but didn't matter, M1, 300, whatever we would have used, that would not have gotten a vital hit. But then, because it was that weak gun, he came back, and actually we almost made a hard shot on the follow-up, so yeah, I like that it kind of went that way and sort of displayed what I had talked about all the way back at the beginning. But the actual reason I came up here is I wanted to get another deer with the air rifle. We shot that one blacktail waiting for the level 9 black bear that ultimately trolled us, but I wanted to get one more and just kind of take a look at what it can do, because we've primarily used it on things like roe deer and musk deer, and these are just a little bit bigger, obviously, than those smaller species. The air rifle can zero all the way out to 100 meters, so I think that's going to be the distance that we go for. And just to be safe, we'll take the shot with his head up, and kind of keep that back behind the shoulder, because we did shoot the first buck sort of through the front leg, and I don't think that's a good idea at the range we just shot, but we saw he's going down, so we should be all good there once again. And so, a 100-meter shot on a blacktail with the 45 caliber air rifle. Not too bad. We had 40% quick kill, which, I mean, for an underpowered round like that, definitely isn't bad. Not a bad size gold again as well at 159, so the elk and the blacktail, both not bad. But yeah, I definitely want to experiment with this more. Like I said, I'm going to intentionally kind of go for those bad shots with some of the other weapons, just to sort of see, like, maybe what would ultimately end up in a kill shot from a flesh hit and what wouldn't. And sort of put all those things together and hopefully make a video like that, sort of looking at what makes sense to use and maybe what doesn't. But I'm actually really excited to do that. We did the comparison of the 30-06, M1, and 303 recently, and I really enjoyed making that video, so far from seeing from this, I think it's going to be fun to make this one as well. But anyway, I think that is going to do it for this video, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.